Hello and welcome to my foundation production G321. My name is Karachalios, candidate number 6155, and I will do a walkthrough on my blog. To begin with, I have my preliminary task, in which I had to get into a group of 3 with some of my media classmates. This task helped me understand the coding conventions like jingle, continuity presenter and archive, and also a radio show structure, script writing, and also planning skills, which will be really useful for my production task afterwards. I analyze each person's duties, including mine, and I also include a flowchart about how the radio show will be structured. Later on, you see a video of my group's meeting which shows how we organized the tasks and roles of each member. I also include a script and the final production of my preliminary task. Then I explained my research on research methods, where I talked about the primary and secondary research, including examples of me using them, such as my group's interviews at Westfield Shopping Centre, but also Rager, a website that measures the exact time and number of audience that were tuned in a licensed radio station at a specific time. Furthermore, I analysed my understanding of generic features. My task was to record a local BBC radio news bulletin and identify the codes and conventions, and finally explain each one of them. I chose BBC Radio Nottingham. In addition to that, I also had to record a local commercial news bulletin and identify the codes and conventions, and lastly analyse the content of each news item. The commercial radio station I chose was the Breeze at Frome and West Wiltshire. Therefore, in order to analyze the news item's contents, I had to show my understanding upon news values. So here is the analysis of each news value. This is a table of the content analysis of each one of the news items. Later on, there is my research upon audience, where I spoke about demographics, Stuart Hall's theory of encoding and decoding, with a diagram which is a demonstration of his theory, audience ways of interpretations when they hear the news, where I also include a news item in which I show how the audience could interpret it. Also, I mentioned the hypodermic needle theory, the dominant ideology, the active and passive audience theory, the effect theory, and the cultivation theory. Afterwards, I talked about my relationship with media, which shows how one person consumes media. Specifically, I mentioned my relationship with social media, video games, and films and cinema. Moreover, I spoke about the difference between local, national, and international news bulletin. This is a really crucial part of my blog, where I talk about my production team and the planning skills. Here I was tasked to form a group of 4 with 3 other classmates from my media class and create a 5-minute long local radio news bulletin in a period of 8 weeks. As you can see, I explained the roles and duty of each person in my group, and I also linked their blogs to their names. Then I show my brief plan about each week's work. We had to produce 1 news item per week. I also include 2 examples of drafts of a script and also a flowchart. Now this is also a very significant part of my blog, where I talk about each news item in depth, where I mention the Audacity tools and other characteristics that can be found in my news item. The first news item is about entertainment, and we talked about Honey G's progress in the X Factor. The second news item was about travel, where we talked about the staff that was going to cast ballots on strike over safety concerns. Afterwards, the third news item is about 5 arrested teenagers for violent disorder after forcing their way onto a bus in Harrow. News item 4 was a follow-up, where we talked about a murder, which, as you can see in the screenshots, was an update of a previous news item. News item 5 was about the award-winning Bombay-themed restaurant in Harrow, which was crowned in only 6 months of work. News item 6 was about politics, where Boris Johnson met Donald Trump's team in New York. News item 7 was weather, where we showed where we took our news from, which was BBC Weather. Last but certainly not least, the news item 8 was about education, where we show about the progress and events that have to do with the primary school of Harrow. Here is my final production of our local radio news bulletin. Finally, these are my evaluation questions where I include answers to all 7 questions. In question number 5, I also include the soundtracks that I didn't add to my video in SoundCloud links. This was my blog walkthrough. My name is Panagiotis Karachalios, candidate number 6155. Thank you for watching.